Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
In today's book review, we're covering the Nimona comic book in honor of the Nimona movie now on Netflix.
Written by ND Stevenson, the story originally started as a short comic strip style webcomic, but that eventually evolved as full-on story over time. And a titular Nimona answers the job offer to become the sidekick to notorious villain Ballister Blackheart, like the name. In their mission to take down the institution, they also discover a conspiracy that's been plaguing the kingdom.
Yep, and before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click notification bell updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely. If you haven't read this book, it's available through HarperCollins. 2015 print edition. I think there's also been an update as well.
Yes.
And it's in the genre of action adventure, science fiction, comedy, drama, and thriller. And Rascal actually made me aware of this particular comic.
Yes. After they had the announcement of Nimona releasing on Netflix, a lot of people went to the original book, and neither of us knew there was a book in the beginning. That was just an original idea to script. And some of our friends had actually went to read the book itself and really ended up loving it. So we ended up going to the library and finding it on the shelf. And at first we were a little confused, but they happened to have an older copy with ND's original name. So the new one has the updated name and the announcement for the movie on there. And you can tell there is a difference how the book starts and how it ends as well.
This is not the same story that's in the movie. We want to let you know that. If you have not read this comic, it's totally different from the movie, which you will be hearing about 2 days from now. On Saturday, we're covering the Netflix original movie, but today we're discussing the comic itself because it's totally different and it's immensely entertaining and really just a gem to read.
Right. And when you start off in the beginning of the book, you can tell it is really a web comic because you can see how the short little squares are looking as you would just read on Tumblr or Twitter. They'd be really quick and really short to read. They may be just a page or two long and that's it. And then about chapter 4 or 5, the story starts to actually pan out. The artwork actually starts to improve a little bit. There's more than just a few panels on the page. There's actually a story arc going on, not one but two. There's a lot more shading. The scale of the places look even bigger, so you're not just reading something that's just short and fly on the screen. It actually looks like a comic already, like it was already a book-like comic instead of a web comic. So ND had really improved the artwork as the story went on and developed the characters very well. Because we really weren't sure about it in the beginning, but it actually ended up being a very well done story and really a lot of depth to it.
Yes. Nimona is a shapeshifter.
Yes.
First of all.
Right. And as you might have seen from like trailers for the movie, she turns into different animals like Beast Boy. However, in here, she not just turns into animals, she can also turn into adults. She can turn into kids. She can be man or woman. She can even become mythical creatures. And she can change just parts of her body and not just the entire thing.
Absolutely. And in the book, and I don't know if there was ever intended to be a sequel, but in the book you don't find out a lot of details as to how this happened to her and this ability she gained.
Right. She explains one story of how she got the powers, but when you see what happened to her, it turns out to be something else entirely, so you don't know which one is the real story, if there's one at all, so it leaves things up to the imagination or you to make theories on.
Now, Ballister Blackheart, again, love the name, he was a hero who became a villain.
Right.
And his partner, Golden Loin, what's the first name?
Ambrosius
Golden Loin. These names are fantastic. Stayed a hero and he became a villain. So as Rascal mentioned in the beginning, she goes to get a sidekick or apprenticeship with him.
Right.
And he's kind of dour and sour.
Right.
And I'm a loner, a rebel, I don't need a sidekick.
A misunderstood bad boy.
And she has this irritating personality for him where she just gets on his nerves. And it's funny because you can see he's warming up to her because she never quits, she never stops, she talks all the time. And at first you're a little put off by her, but then you start being taken in just like Blackheart,
right,
where you like her. And I think that's what's so different about this book. When you read it, the characters are different, and the story is fun, and you do have some dire things that happen.
Yes.
But it's a fun read, and you like the characters, and you end up liking Nimona. You don't expect to, and you do. And by the end of the book, you want to read more and see more, and you're disappointed that the story ends.
Right, and you're hoping that there's more, and maybe perhaps with the movie, there's a chance that there could be more to the story that ND did not write in the comic. Maybe there could be new ideas that flow now that the project's been brought back to life. So that could be a big opportunity for it. Now, for as moments in here, this is actually a pretty thick book. It's like I said, it starts off shorter, but it gets really long, detailed. There's complexity. There's a story arc. There's really great artwork by the time it gets near the end with the designs of Nimona's dragon form and seeing what the institution looks like, and it ends up really being fantastic to even just look at. I think you have to get used to the art style because you're not expecting it to look like this, and it's not bad, it's just that's the style choice, and it actually ends up growing on you because it kind of plays off the contrast of this dark thing going on where people are getting sick in the kingdom. They don't know why. They say they're constantly building weapons and getting things for war when no one's having a war against them, and they uncover, as we said, things going on in the kingdom, why people were getting sick, and you find out that Ballister actually had a reason to be against the institution after they kicked him out. And alongside that, you have some, like you said, some really funny moments, some actually heartwarming moments, and one of my favorite ones in terms of comedy is there's a point where they're playing board games in his lair while they're waiting for days.
And Blackheart.
Right. And they're playing stuff instead of Monopoly, World Domination. And they're playing along, and she has to give him $600. And she said, no, we're going to start a rebellion. We overthrow the kingdom. Ha! And he said, I'm taking the $600 anyway. And then she threw something. He said, that's another $600. And she burned up the board with her fire. That's another $600, by the way.
And one of my favorites, you know what's coming, is when Blackheart and Golden Loin get into an argument because they were in a relationship and they're not, and you can tell Golden Loin is still in love.
Fighting, yeah.
Yes, with Blackheart. And they start fighting, and then when Blackheart starts losing, he knees Golden Loin in the crotch, and then he kicks him with his foot, and it's so hilarious because you're like, okay, this guy's named Golden Loin, and you're kicking him in the Golden Loin, and the pages are hilarious. You have to see it on screen. It's just funny, and I think that's what really sets this comic apart from a lot of things. There's this perfect balance in it of all these different elements. As we told you, there's 4 different genres that it covers, and it covers thriller and comedy drama and sci-fi and action adventure.
Right.
Perfectly all meld together. And that's one thing that differs about the movie. It doesn't cover all these genres, and there's not that mixture in the movie, and some of the names have been changed of characters, and it's a totally different story.
Right.
So, even if you love the movie, we really recommend you get this comic and read it because it is such a joy to read, and we were really impressed by her writing skills.
Yeah.
Yes, we know she did the original version for She-Ra.
Right.
We know that, and we know she's done some other things and helped out on some other projects, but this was all her own thing. And it wasn't an adaptation of someone else's work and so forth.
Right.
It was hers, and you got to see and feel her talent and her thoughts and her style and all within this comic, and you didn't expect to be introduced to her in this. You didn't expect to be introduced to ND in this book.
Right.
I'm sorry, when this book was written, her name is Noelle. So I have to correct myself, ND. So I apologize.
Right. And when it gets towards the end of the book, it gets to a really big climax, and it actually starts to get way more serious because there's a point where they're hunting Nimona because they want to use her powers, because she can shapeshift into pretty much anything she wants that's living, and they want to know how to use that. And there's a point in there where they're hurting Blackheart really badly to the point he could probably die if he gets hit again. And it causes her to morph almost out of control to give them what they wanted in terms of having the monster with all the power. And it gets to like a little bit later when the lab of the institution is nearly destroyed and you're looking for Nimona. And you also get what may be her real backstory of them experimenting on her, and she end up becoming a morpher because of the institution. And Blackheart actually goes to find her because Goldline's been ordered to kill her, and he's for some reason okay with that as long as he's not killing Ballister, so that tells you a lot about him. Right. And it actually gets to a moment where it's probably we thought was like one of the most actually sweetest moments of the story, when she actually reverts back to the age she was when she was taken away, and Ballister tells her to trust him that he can get her out, and it ends up becoming at that point like her father that she was missing.
It was like a Tanjiro Nezuko moment. Like
yes.
When she turns really little in Demon Slayer, so you can pat her on the head,
right?
And she can be cuddled. It was like that. And
right.
Yes, it was very, very touching and unexpected. Very, right. Very sweet.
And then the biggest part of all is probably the representation of the Black Dragon form, because it's handled very differently in the movie and it represents something else. And here it represents like the anger and everything Nimona has felt, and it manifests it, and it gets to a point where it's on its own and separate from her, and it becomes the focal point of, you know, she's always been cut off from everybody since the experimentation. She got the power, then she didn't trust anybody, and she's slowly grown to trust Blackheart. And seeing that it may have been taken away because everything that happened to her, it becomes to a point to decide, can she trust him or does she trust him, because he's done all these things for her, but because of what the institution has done, she still had, unfortunately, a part of that fragility in her. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how a lot of this is covered so much in less than 300 pages. You get all this complexity, drama, well-written characters, well-developed characters. Some that are actually missing from the movie, and still some great humor in it, and you end up laughing at a lot of stuff in there, especially when she changes into the animals and you're laughing as she's just driving him crazy.
So I'm going to read you this quickly from Wikipedia before we finish up. Mm-hmm. Stevenson began working on Nimona while attending the Maryland Institute College of Art, revisiting a character he had created in high school. Stevenson published Nimona as a webcomic from 2012 through 2014, initially through Tumblr, developing the story and art style as time progressed. The finished work ultimately doubled as his senior thesis. After an agent reached out to Stevenson, HarperCollins released Nimona in print form in 2015. It's being translated into 16 other languages and adapted into an audiobook. Nimona's accolades include an Eisner Award, a Sibelius Award, and a Cartoonist Studio Prize.
Wow.
Reviews and academic analyses have highlighted themes of queerness and fluidity of identity, and how they oppose and subvert traditional controlling institutions and exclusionary systems. And right. As you know, it was mentioned earlier, an animated film of the same name was first announced in 2015 by Century Animation. It was supposed to be produced by Blue Sky Studios. Walt Disney shut it down. It was survived by Annapurna Pictures, brought in by NEG Animation as animation partner, and then the film was released this year on Netflix on June 30th to critical acclaim.
Yes.
So that tells you a whole lot about just how great this comic was, and how, because of its greatness, it ended up getting this movie. Now again, this movie is really different from the comic. It's not the comic.
That's true.
We can't wait to talk to you about that movie on Saturday when we cover it. On Friday, I'm sorry.
Right.
Tomorrow, when we cover it on our Paws on Netflix cover.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can say Saturday. I mean tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we've been doing Saturday for so long, it's only natural.
So if you have read Nimona, the webcomic or the book itself. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you love it like we do? Did you dislike it? Did you find it meh? We really are interested in what you think. And if you haven't read it, it's available at your public library. It's available to purchase online at Amazon, probably at Barnes & Noble and other stores where books are available. Get it. You won't be disappointed. It's worth the investment and time of reading this book. It's really a joy to read.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and movie videos on your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation, and comics and manga.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toon-tastic day.
Peace.
Rivers and streams, plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, giving